Survivors cling to life as Texas storms turn deadly. I had to swim through the window. Hunt, Texas, like others who were in homes or vacationing over the July 4th weekend at Texas' Guadalupe River. Christian Fell, 25, was jolted awake by the crack of thunder. It was about 3 a.m., just a couple hours since Fell had gone to sleep alone in his grandmother's home on the river in Hunt, Texas. The rest of his family was staying upriver at another house. Then came more noise, this time sounding like a break-in, and he got out of bed. Christian Fell, 25, stood for hours on top of a meter box, barely wide enough for both hands. To survive floodwaters that deluged his grandmother's home. Suzanne Gamboa, NBC News. The river water that he'd normally watch from the patio of the historic stone home his grandfather built was now over his ankles, and rising fast. He would soon learn it was dragging trees and debris that slammed against the house, tore up the patio, nearly trapped him inside, and ultimately forced him to swim through a window and cling to a meter box to survive. In what one local said is a region considered the jewel of Texas, where the river is known more as a place of play and relaxation, communities are reeling from deadly flooding that has claimed the lives of dozens of people, including 15 children. There had been flash flood warnings, but residents said those are not unusual in the area, which, like much of the state, had also been in a years-long drought. So Fell, like many others, went to sleep, some wary of the storm but expecting to wake to barbecues. The smell of the wet trees and the familiar river they fished, waded and plunged into for years. Instead, for Fell, the early morning hours of July 4th became a fight for survival. Heavy debris that slammed up against one side of a home, a damaged car is parked outside on the street. Floodwater carried heavy debris that slammed up against one side of the home where Christian Fell was sleeping, nearly trapping him inside as the Guadalupe River rose. Suzanne Gamboa, NBC News. With the water rising fast, he walked from the bedroom to the living room, using the flashlight on his phone. He turned to see water pouring into the wrecked patio. He tried the kitchen door, hoping to reach his truck. I couldn't leave through the kitchen door because as soon as I opened it, all this water started flooding in, and it was about waist-high at this point, probably about 5 minutes after I woke up, said Fell, who is 6 feet tall. He returned to the bedroom and tried to climb onto the air mattress he had been sleeping on, but couldn't. A door on another side of the house wouldn't open. He tried calling 911 but was disconnected 3 times, he said. On one call, he said the dispatcher told him to call back when the water was at chin level. I had to go underwater and swim through the broken window, he said. Once outside, he tried to climb to the roof, but the gutter he grabbed onto snapped off. Fell instead clung to a meter box mounted on the house, the top of which is about 7 feet above the ground. He stood on its narrow top for several hours, his hands dangerously close to electrical wires, until the water receded. People walk in front of a building where furniture items have been placed outside. Volunteers help Christian Fell and his family recover belongings and dig out mud from his grandmother's home along the Guadalupe River. Suzanne Gamboa, NBC News. Matt Marr, 39, and Aaron Burgess, were at home in the Bumblebee subdivision, across the street from the river. The home, which Burgess bought 5 years ago, is one of the closest to the river, the site of peaceful morning walks, until July 4th. Aaron Burgess left, and Matt Marr stand outside of a house and pose for a portrait. Aaron Burgess and Matt Marr survived the floodwaters. Aaron clung to the tree behind them with her son, not knowing whether Marr was still alive after he had to avoid being crushed by a shed and a car, and was carried by the current to a neighbor's porch. Suzanne Gamboa, NBC News. They were also awakened by thunder. With their dog, Stella, they stepped outside to watch the rain, which was heavy, but not alarming. They returned to bed and checked Facebook for weather warnings, but didn't find any. All of a sudden I looked at him and said, "What is that sound?" And he said, "It sounds like it's raining in the house." We looked down and water was coming through the walls, Burgess said. That was about 4:30 a.m. By 5:15 a.m., Burgess and her 19-year-old son were clinging to a large tree in their front yard, holding on for an hour. The water had risen so high, Burgess tiptoed to keep her head above it. They had tried to get onto the roof but were swept toward the tree instead.